These are the 8 characteristics of all living things for a Pacific white-sided dolphin. First off, they are multicellular organisms and they're made of cells. How they reproduce is sexual reproduction. They're based on they're based on genetic code. As individuals, they grow and develop into a full-grown aside from a baby or cat. They obtain materials for energy by eating squid, fish, and anchovies. They adapt to the environment by seeing that they're too hot in this picture above. Later on, they go deeper in water, so they're not sunburned, and maintain how they maintain stable internal conditions is by saying that they need more air, so they go up to the surface to get more air, or they have low blood sugar because they need to eat and they're hungry. As a group, they evolve. They evolve to camouflage. They evolve by darker, so they can get more fish and camouflage more to the environment. And that's all. Good day. These are the 8 characteristics of all living things for a Pacific white-sided dolphin. First off, they are multicellular organisms and they're made of cells. How they reproduce is sexual reproduction. They're based on they're based on genetic code. As individuals, they grow and develop into a full-grown aside from a baby or cat. They obtain materials for energy by eating squid, fish, and anchovies. They adapt to the environment by seeing that they're too hot in this picture above. Later on, they go deeper in water, so they're not sunburned, and maintain how they maintain stable internal conditions is by saying that they need more air, so they go up to the surface to get more air, or they have low blood sugar because they need to eat and they're hungry. As a group, they evolve. They evolve to camouflage. They evolve by darker, so they can get more fish and camouflage more to the environment. And that's all. Good day.
Hey guys, so for me, I did the characteristics of life, the mountain lion. My first box, I just made it made of cells. I just showed the cells. Second box, I used the sperm and the egg to show the reproduction of a baby cat. For the third one, I just put genetic strands or just DNA. For the fourth one, I put a smaller mountain lion slowly developing into a bigger one. For the fifth slide, I put their diet of just meats and different vegetables because they are carnivores. For the sixth slide, I put an adaptation is that their paws grow larger in the snow in different areas. For the fifth slide, I showed their internal conditions remaining stable even after like heat and different effects. And the last slide, I showed the original or the first generation of the cat, the saber-toothed tiger, evolving into what is now known as the mountain lion or any type of big cat.
For the animal I chose was the leatherback sea turtle. So, like any other living creature, they're made up of cells. There's a picture of them having cells. um, they can reproduce. They have DNA. There's a little picture of DNA there. They can individually grow and develop. They can live up to 30 to 50 years. They can obtain materials for energy. So their diet consists mostly of cephalopods, which is, like for example, squids and octopus. They can adapt through evolution. Its closest cousin is the archaeon, which is extinct. It can maintain stable internal conditions by having high activity rates to generate muscle-deprived heat, and they have thick layer of fat to keep that heat. They can respond to the environment by hiding in its shell to protect it against predators. That's it.
Hello, I'm Jonathan, and these are the characteristics of a duck. A duck is made out of animal cells. It could reproduce, it lays eggs. It is based on a genetic code, which is DNA. It can individually grow and develop, starts as a juvenile, then an immature duck, and an adult that is ready to mate. It can obtain materials for energy. It eats fish, plants, and other crustaceans. It can adapt to the environment. It uses its webbed feet to swim through the water fast. And it maintains a stable internal conditions by when it's cold, it curls up, and it can evolve as a group. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jasmine Garcia, and this is my 8 Heuristics of Life project. Otters are made out of cells, since cells are the base unit of every life form, and otters reproduce by using 2 otters to make one more otter, and they are made out of DNA. That's their genetic code, and they eat shellfish, sea urchins, and sometimes crabs for food and energy. And when otters evolve, they go from small to medium size to large. And when they adapt, they learn how to swim, and the mom teaches the pup how to swim by dragging them into the water and showing the pups how to doggy paddle, because eventually they will doggy paddle on their own. And they secrete oil to keep themselves warm, and they evolved from about wolf-sized otters to house cat-sized otters. And that is my project. Thank you.
Young Medusa.
Okay, this is my
and then from a young Medusa
poster. It's a horned lizard. They all have cells. The eggs are buried 30 centimeters under the ground so that predators don't eat them. As a baby, they're 1 inch long and they can grow up to 5 inches. For food, they let the ants crawl into their mouth by standing on a ant trail. To adapt, they have a special skin that will collect the water for them so they won't get dehydrated. To stay cool, they bury under the sand because it's cooler under there. They evolve because before they didn't have horns, but now they do to protect themselves from predators.
Hi, I'm Claire, and this is my 8 Characteristics of Life project. I did my project on Anna's hummingbird. The first box is made of cells, and all living things are made of cells. On the next box, hummingbirds reproduce sexually. Then, genetic code. All things have a specific genetic code or DNA. Hummingbirds grow and develop. They develop abilities to look for food and learn to fly with their wings. They obtain energy from sugar and plants and will also eat little bugs. Next, hummingbirds adapt to their environment with torpor. Torpor is where they'll hibernate when it's cold and drop their metabolism 1/5, and their body temperature will become almost hypothermic. They maintain a stable internal condition by eating all the time to sustain energy from all the flying they do. Lastly, they've evolved as a group. Hummingbirds have long beaks that allow them to poke in a flower and take out the sugar easily. And that's it. Thanks for watching.
Alright, so these are the 8 characteristics for life for an octopus. They are made out of cells, which is the smallest unit of life. They reproduce. One of the octopus's tentacles is actually their reproductive organ. They're made of DNA. They grow and develop from an egg to a hatchling, baby, adult, and then they die after 3 to 5 years. They maintain materials for energy, so they eat things like clams, fish, and prawns or shrimp. They adapt through evolution. So octopus, squid, and cuttlefish are all in the same family. I'm not really sure what evolved from what. Then, of course, they're responsive to their environment. So not only do squids throw ink at predators, octopus do as well. And then they maintain a stable internal environment. So they've taken more oxygen, usually during times when it's 16 to 28 degrees Celsius, and this just makes them cool down or heat up depending on how much oxygen they take in.
I put that in the raw. Hi, I'm Jesse Togo, and this is my presentation on the box jellyfish. Here I have the cells of the box jellyfish. Here's how the box jelly reproduces. It starts as a fertile egg and then goes to a larvae, and then from there it goes to a polyp, and then from a polyp to an adult polyp, and then to a young medusa, and then from a young medusa to an adult medusa. Here is the DNA of the box jellyfish, and here the box jellyfish starts off as a really small jellyfish when it's young, then grows up to a big jellyfish around 3 feet long. Here is how the box jellyfish gets energy. It starts off by killing other jellyfish and then absorbing the energy from them. Here is how the box jellyfish adapts. It used to be smaller than the fish, but now it's bigger, and now it's able to kill them and then use them for food. Here, the jellyfish swim up to the top of the ocean and then to take energy from the sun and then go back down when they're cold so they can stay warm. And then the jellyfish started off really small, and now it's become very big. Thank you.
Okay, so my characteristics of life critter was the green sea turtle. So that's a green sea turtle, and it's made of cells. It can reproduce, so that's a sperm going to an egg and then making a baby turtle. Has DNA, that's a DNA strand. Grows and develops, it starts off as an egg and then goes to a baby and then it's fully grown. Obtains materials for energy, so it's swimming towards algae because that's what it eats and gets energy from it. Adapt to the environment. Basically, they can swim fast away from their predators, and their hard shell can protect them, so it's swimming away from a shark. and maintain stable internal conditions. If they want to get warmer, they have a layer of blubber, and if they want to get colder, they're usually otherwise the same temperature as the water. Evolution, it evolved from a lizard, and the first turtle was in the Triassic period. So, yeah.
The 8 characteristics of a bottlenose dolphin include cells, reproduction, which dolphins are sexual, DNA, they have the genetic code for DNA. They grow and develop from a baby to a full-grown dolphin. The materials they gain for energy are fish and squid and other little creatures. They adapt to the environment by echolocation and their well-developed sense of hearing. To maintain stable internal conditions, they have blubber and homeostasis. The evolution of a dolphin, they went from walking on land to in the water, and they went from a mycetity to an odontocete. Thank you.
Wait, can we watch that?
It's so awkward, you can't.
We need to watch that.
Stop it.
There were some points in that video.
Did you stop it
I
yet?
can't.
8 characteristics of the California king snake. The snake is made up of cells. The snake reproduces. Every snake and every living thing is based on a genetic code or DNA. As an individual, it grows and develops. Every object needs to obtain materials for energy. It adapts to their environment. Let's say there was a lower population of mice or rats, they can eat birds or other snakes. As a living thing, they can also maintain stable internal conditions, like if it got cold, it would sit on a rock and sunbathe. As a group, they evolve over time.
All right, first picture, made of cells. Pretty simple, just a bunch of cells on there. And then second one, reproduce. I drew a family of whales, showing that reproduction is possible. And the third one, based on genetic code, DNA. I drew a couple DNA strands right here. And fourth one, grow and develop. I drew some whales, growing because full size. Then fourth one, obtain materials for energy. I drew a whale eating some small fish right here to maintain energy by eating food. And then fifth one, adapt to their environment. I drew a whale jumping out of water because when whales jump out of water, they gain more oxygen. And then maintain stable internal conditions. I drew a whale getting rid of waste right here. And then last one, evolve. I drew the whale's first stage to the last one. All right. That's my presentation.
Young Medusa.
Okay, this is my
and then from a young Medusa
poster. It's a horned lizard. They all have cells. The eggs are buried 30 centimeters under the ground so that predators don't eat them. As a baby, they're 1 inch long and they can grow up to 5 inches. For food, they let the ants crawl into their mouth by standing on a ant trail. To adapt, they have a special skin that will collect the water for them so they won't get dehydrated. To stay cool, they bury under the sand because it's cooler under there. They evolve because before they didn't have horns, but now they do to protect themselves from predators.
Hello, I'm Jonathan, and these are the characteristics of a duck. A duck is made out of animal cells. It could reproduce. It lays eggs. It is based on a genetic code, which is DNA. It can individually grow and develop, starts as a juvenile, then an immature duck, and an adult that is ready to mate. It can obtain materials for energy. It eats fish, plants, and other crustaceans. It can adapt to the environment. It uses its webbed feet to swim through the water fast. And it maintains a stable internal conditions. By when it's cold, it curls up. And it can evolve as a group. Thank you.
My animal is the diamondback snake. The diamondback snake, like all animals, is made of cells. It also reproduces and is made of genetic code. As an individual, it grows and develops because it starts at around 10 inches. It can grow up to 4 feet. It obtains materials for energy, and its diet consists of small rodents and birds. They adapt to their environment by using camouflage. It maintains stable internal conditions by using thermal regulation, which regulates and keeps the blood temperature
stable for the snake. Over time, it's evolved. It started out with limbs, as you can see here, with my nicely drawn feet. But over time, due to DNA changing, it evolved into not having any limbs.
What's happening?
Thanks.
Wait, did you already upload mine?
These are the 8 characteristics of all living things for a Pacific white-sided dolphin. First off, they're multicellular organisms and they're made of cells. How they reproduce is sexual reproduction. They're based on They're based on genetic code. As individuals, they grow and develop into a full-grown aside from a baby or cat. They obtain materials for energy by eating squid, fish, and anchovies. They adapt to the environment by seeing that they're too hot in this picture above. Later on, they go deeper in water so they're not sunburned and maintain how they maintain stable internal conditions is by saying that they need more air, so they go up to the surface to get more air, or they have low blood sugar because they need to eat and they're hungry. As a group, they evolve. They evolve to camouflage. They evolve by darker, so they can get more fish and camouflage more to the environment. And that's all. Good day.
This is my characteristics of life poster, and the animal I chose was the gray fox. Like all living things, the gray fox is made up of cells. The gray fox is able to reproduce. The gray fox does have a DNA structure. It is able to grow and develop over time. Its primary diet consists of rabbits, fish, seeds, and vegetables. Gray foxes adapt to their environment by changing the length of their fur. So in the heat, they have shorter fur. When it's colder, their fur is longer. They maintain their internal conditions by doing things like eating. And it evolved from this over here called the Eurocyon.
Hello, my name is Andrew Reyes, and for the Characteristics of Life project, I chose the blubber jellyfish. And as you can see, this creature is pretty cute and simple, but it exemplifies all 8 characteristics of life. Its life cycle, it starts from a egg to a budding polyp to a immature medusa and all the way into an adult medusa. In a fight or flight scenario, this creature would run away because it's small and fragile and not very mobile. But as you can see in homeostasis, it does have a defense mechanism where it opens up all of its tentacles so that if any prey are nearby, it can have easy access to it. And in evolution, it started off from microorganisms all the way to comb jellies and all the way into the blubber jellyfish that it is today. And as you can see, those are all the 8 characteristics of life shown by the blubber jellyfish.
This is my characteristics of life poster on the Gila monster. The Gila monster has cells, can reproduce by laying eggs, and is based on genetic code. They obtain materials for energy, such as shown here, eggs from other species. As an individual, they grow and develop. They start as a baby, and eventually they grow bigger and make their own den. They maintain stable internal conditions by going outside in the sun to heat up, and to cool down, they will go into pools of water. For adapt to their environment, if they don't have a pool of water to cool down in, they will use their den to cool down in instead. For as a group evolve, they are one of the rare species of lizard that evolved to have venom.
Hi guys, today we'll be talking about the 8 characteristics of life of a moon jellyfish. So all moon jellyfish are made out of cells, like all living things, even though they are made out of 95% water. They can reproduce, which is both sexual and asexual. They have DNA, like all other living things. For grow and develop, I drew a life cycle because that's how they grow. So they start out as a larva, then it goes to a pulp, a budding pulp, and these 2 cycles are on coral reefs, an ephora, and a medusa, which is a full-grown jellyfish. Jellyfishes eat small fishes, so that's for maintain materials for energy. For maintain stable internal conditions, they rely on food, and their tentacles can help them keep warm. For adapt, they can camouflage because they are nearly transparent, and they can sting predators with their tentacles. So, in a fight or flight situation, a jellyfish would flight because they would nearly almost camouflage in this situation, but if a predator comes too close, they will sting it just to have them avoid them. And for evolve, I drew the jellyfish adapting to new conditions because over time, that is what they have done. And that's it.
As my animal, I got the snow hare shoe. In the first image, it shows cells. Cells is where all living things started as a form. In genetic code, DNA is the characteristics that describe something or someone. In reproduction, it shows a mother and father, and the mother is dreaming about her kids passing on genetics as they reproduce. In growth development, it shows a snow hare parting from its family and starting its new hunt and new journey. In energy, they eat flowers, leaves, and grass to persist energy. For depth, the snow hares contain their gray furs to persist with the heat, and as winter comes by, they coat with white fur to stay warm. In homeostasis, the snow hares build a nest above ground to avoid their enemies, and as evolution passes, every year their ears get longer as time passes.
Hi, my name is Toby. My characteristics of life poster is about raccoons. Um, Raccoons are made of cells. Raccoons are mammals in the order of the Carnivora and belonging to the Procynid family. They're related to ringtails, etc. Reproduce once a year in the spring. They start giving birth to 2 to 5 young raccoons. In spring to fall, those young raccoons start their independent lives, grow. A raccoon body length varies around 16 to 28 inch. They have a body weight of 11 to 57 pounds. The raccoon, so energy. The raccoon is mostly an omnivore. His diet contains different foods such as 40% invertebrates, 33% plant material, and 27 vertebrates adapt to their environment. If it's cold, they have like a dense underfur. In the beginning of winter, they build up fat food. They are omnivores, so they have plenty of choice to feed. Strengths, they're intelligent, and they're stronger than most dogs, and they have an excellent night vision. Evolution, 25 million years ago, members of the Procynid family inhabited Earth. 2.5 million years ago, ancestors of the common raccoon migrated from Central America to the more northern parts of America. Thank you for your attention.
These are the characteristics of life of a bloody belly comb jelly. They are made of cells and they have DNA and they can reproduce sexually and asexually because they have both male and female reproductive organs. They release 8,000 eggs and 13 days after hatching they can reproduce. They can grow up to a length of 6 inches and they eat small fish and plankton. Their red belly helps mask the bioluminescent light from the prey when digesting, and they are mainly invisible to predators because they are so deep that red appears black. They expel waste through their mouth and they live in the abyssal zone in the ocean. They were once evolved from sponges and other primitive organisms.
Hi, I'm Christina, and for this project I decided to do the ring-tailed cat. So first of all, it's made of cells, and those cells make up its entire body, and they include deoxyribonucleic acid, which is DNA, and it's its genetic code. Also, they reproduce, meaning they have offspring, and that offspring keeps it from going extinct. That offspring also grows and develops. So they start off small and grow in size, and they also develop in mentality. Next, they maintain stable internal conditions. So its stomach is grumbling and it thinks that I should eat, and then it goes and eats this mouse because it can obtain materials for energy. Next, they adapt. So when the weather gets warmer, their fur starts to shed so that they can cool off their bodies. Finally, they evolve as a group. So they started off as carnivores, but later they became omnivores because that gives them more food options. Thank you.
I'm Ali Shalabi, and this is the 8 Characteristics of Life poster. The animal that I've selected is sea otters. All otters are made out of the cells. Every otter reproduces, not asexually, sexually. All otters have a genetic code, which is basically DNA. Otters grow and develop from a baby otter to an adult otter, which makes sure they grow longer tails, longer feathers, and longer feet. Otters obtain materials for energy, which they eat food such as sea urchins, crabs, clams, mussels, snails, and fish. Otters adapt themselves to the environment by wrapping themselves in seaweeds if they get too cold. They also eat the food around it, and they can also step on land to find other foods. For maintaining conditions, sea otters keep themselves warm by using their fur to keep warm during cold days, and they also wrap themselves around seaweeds to keep warm. They pretty much use seaweeds as kind of like a blanket in the water. Sea otters didn't evolve, but they pretty much evolved from this big, huge sea otter that was about 5 to 7 million years ago that humans discovered. Thanks for watching. That's my project.
This is my Characteristics of All Living Things poster, and I'm using a Norway rat to represent them. As you can see, a Norway rat is made out of cells. It can reproduce. It is based on a genetic code, which is DNA. And as an individual, it can grow and develop because as a baby rat and then adult rat. It can obtain materials for energy. As you can see, it's eating a block of cheese. And it adapts to their environment because in the winter, it lives in homes and then it moves over to outside areas such as a bush during the summer. And it can maintain stable internal conditions because it eats and it poops. His body is healthy. And as a group, it can evolve because it evolved from an anagalid, which is a prehistoric rat.
Hi, I'm Reagan Richardson, and I chose elephant seals as my animal to show the 8 characteristics of life. The first characteristic that makes them alive is that they're made up of cells. Elephant seals are multicellular and have lots of different types of cells in their bodies. Blood cells like these are an example of that. The second characteristic is that they can reproduce, so you see the adult seal and its baby. The third is that it follows the genetic code or has DNA. The fourth is that it can grow and develop, so you can see the baby developing into an adult over time. The fifth characteristic is that it can obtain energy, so I drew the elephant seal eating a fish. The sixth characteristic is that it can adapt to its environment, and it did that by developing blubber under its skin that helps it stay warm. The seventh characteristic is that it can maintain internal conditions or homeostasis, and it ties into the sixth characteristic because the blubber helps it stay warm, which keeps it at a stable internal temperature. The eighth characteristic is that it can evolve. So you can see that otters evolved into elephant seals over time. Yeah.
Okay, this is my Characteristics of Life poster on the Gila monster. First of all, the Gila monster has cells. They can reproduce by laying eggs, and they are based on genetic code. They also obtain materials for energy, such as eggs from other species of lizard and bird, and they will, as an individual, they grow and develop. They start from an egg, and then they hatch out of the egg and become great human monsters, I guess. So, to maintain stable internal conditions, whenever they're cold, they will go out and sunbathe. And they will also use pools of water to cool themselves down. for adapt to their environment. If there is no pool of water that they can cool down, they will sit in their den to cool down. And then finally, for as a group evolve, this is one of the rare species of lizard that has venom. So ones with venom survive and ones without venom don't. Thank you very much.
My animal is a great white shark. Like all living things, great white sharks are made up of cells, the basic building block of life. When great whites reproduce, they carry their pups before giving birth. The great white has 82 paired chromosomes. Great whites mature very slowly. The larger in length and size, the larger the prey they can hunt becomes. Obtaining materials for energy, great white sharks eat fish, squids, and rays, but their diet mainly consists of sea otters and seals. Because of their large size and speed in the water, great white sharks tend to fight their enemy, even if it is a larger animal such as a whale. This is a helpful adaptation because great whites can easily fight their enemies when they feel threatened. To maintain homeostasis, great whites use heat-generating muscles to maintain internal body temperatures. Many scientists believe great white sharks have evolved from the megalodon line.
These are the characteristics of life of a bloody belly comb jelly. They have cells and they have a genetic code, and they can reproduce sexually and asexually because they have both male and female reproductive organs. They can release 8,000 eggs, and 13 days after hatching, they can reproduce. They can grow up to a length of 6 inches, and they eat plankton and fish. Their red belly helps mask the bioluminescent light from their prey when digesting. They're mainly invisible to predators because they blend in with the deep sea because red appears black. They expel waste through their mouth, and they live in the abyssal zone in the ocean. They once evolved from primitive organisms like sponges.
What are the characteristics of a humpback whale? Humpback whales have brain cells also found in humans. A new study found the presence of a certain type of neuron cell that is also found in human brains. Humpbacks have one calf at a time, they have a genetic code, and their calves do not stop growing until they are 10 years old. Humpback whales migrate around 5,000 kilometers on average, one of the longest migratory journeys as they feed on 2,200 pounds of krill. Having blubber allows whales to maintain their body heat to survive as they migrate. Blubber acts as an insulation layer to help maintain energy in cold waters. Over 50 million years ago, the first whales, such as Pexites, had long skulls and large carnivorous teeth.
Animal that I picked is a northern river otter, made of cells. Sea otters have eukaryotic cells. They have red blood cells and white blood cells. Reproduce. Both male and female otters attain sexual maturity in their second or third year. Most don't successfully reproduce until they are 5 to 7 years old, based on genetic code. Northern river otters get DNA from both male and female parents. Grow and develop. When they are born, they weigh an average of 130 grams. They are born toothless and blind. They remain dependent on mothers for an average of 6 months after they are born. Obtain materials for energy. Otters get their own food. They usually eat fish or crabs, adapt to the environment. One of the otter's adaptations are web feet. This helps them swim faster in the water, maintain stable internal conditions. They rely on a higher metabolic rate and air trapped in their dense fur to maintain body temperature. As a group evolved, no one knows exactly where sea otters came from, but they believe they arose 5 to 7 million years old. The ancestors were originally land mammals that went into water to hide from predators and look for food. Thank you.
Hi, this is Liam Casey, and I'll be explaining how the giant Pacific octopus makes up the 8 characteristics of life. First, they're made of genetic code, which decides their skin color, tentacles, all of that. Second, they're able to grow and develop, meaning they start out as little baby octopuses and grow into 500-pound giant Pacific octopuses. Third, they are able to obtain materials for energy, meaning that they can consume an organism. With octopus, it's commonly fish. Fourth, they're able to reproduce. Octopuses reproduce through the third right tentacle through the ear. Fifth, they're able to keep a stable internal environment. Octopuses like to kind of wrap themselves around their tentacles and hide from predators just to keep calm. Sixth, they're made up of cells, which is the basic unit of all life. Seventh, they're able to evolve. Octopuses actually evolved from mollusks, and then they lost their shell, and that soft interior became an octopus. Eighth, they're able to adapt. Octopuses have pigments in their skin, which allows them to change color and hide from predators under rocks. Thank you, and this has been the giant Pacific octopus.
The Characteristics of a Great White Shark by Tommy Merriam. In the first box, right here, it's showing the shark cells. In the second box, it's showing a newborn shark. In the third box, there's DNA cells for a great white shark. Now in the fourth box, it's showing how a great white shark grew into its size and shape it is now. In the fifth box, shows the shark obtaining smaller fish to gain energy. In the sixth box, it shows how the shark adapted into its environment by getting fins to help it swim and gills to help it breathe underwater. In the second to last box, it's showing how the shark maintains stable internal conditions because it's cold-blooded. And finally, in the last box, it's showing how the shark evolved from a small fish into a huge shark.
So for my creature, I chose the bottlenose dolphin, and here is how it displays the 8 characteristics of life. So dolphins are made of cells. So I just drew how it has cells. For reproduce, I drew a mom dolphin and a baby dolphin to show how dolphins can have kids. For genetic code, I drew DNA strands of a dolphin. For grow and develop, I drew a baby dolphin and an adult dolphin to show how they grow. For obtaining materials for energy, I drew a dolphin eating a fish because that's their main food source. For adapt to the environment, I drew a dolphin hiding behind seaweed because that's like kind of their fight or flight mechanism. Then for maintain stable internal conditions, I drew their blowhole, which is how they breathe. And then for as a group evolve, I drew how they've evolved over the past millions of years. Like they used to be land animals, but now they live in the ocean and they're dolphins. So yeah, that's it. Thanks.
These are the 8 characteristics of life in the bloody belly comb jellyfish. The first characteristic of life the jellies have is that it's made of cells. This means that it contains DNA and can reproduce. The bloody belly jellies reproduce asexually, meaning they fertilize themselves. The jellies grow from an egg into a juvenile called an ephyra and then into an adult. The bloody bellies are heterotrophs, obtaining energy by eating fish larvae and copepods. Another characteristic of life in the jellies is the ability to adapt to their environment. By hunting in a swarm, they protect themselves from predators. One of the ways jellyfish maintain their internal conditions is by excreting what food they eat as carbon-heavy mass. The last characteristic is evolution. Bloody bellies have evolved to be red because it is seen as transparent in their habitat and to glow to attract prey.
This is the characteristics of a leopard shark. Leopard sharks are made of cells, and the cells are eukaryotic, so they have complex cell structures. They reproduce sexually so two parents come together to create one kid. They're based on genetic code, and the genetic code is called DNA. Um, they grow and develop, and they grow by increasing the amount of cells they have. They obtain materials for energy by eating other animals, so they're heterotrophs, and they adapt to their environment by going to the shallow part of the ocean, so that way they can stay away from any predators. They maintain stable internal conditions by secreting this liquid that makes sure the salinity of the water doesn't get too low. And as a group, they evolved by, at first they didn't have any spots, and then they evolved to get spots. That way they can sneak up on their prey.
Hi, this is Liam Casey, and I'll be explaining how the giant Pacific octopus makes up the 8 characteristics of life. First, they're made of genetic code, which decides their skin color, tentacles, all of that. Second, they're able to grow and develop, meaning they start out as little baby octopuses and grow into 500-pound giant Pacific octopuses. Third, they are able to obtain materials for energy, meaning that they can consume an organism. With octopus, it's commonly fish. Fourth, they're able to reproduce. Octopuses reproduce through the third right tentacle through the ear. Fifth, they're able to keep a stable internal environment. Octopuses like to kind of wrap themselves around their tentacles and hide from predators just to keep calm. Sixth, they're made up of cells, which is the basic unit of all life. Seventh, they're able to evolve. Octopuses actually evolved from mollusks, and then they lost their shell, and that soft interior became an octopus. Eighth, they're able to adapt. Octopuses have pigments in their skin, which allows them to change color and hide from predators under rocks. Thank you, and this has been the giant Pacific octopus.
The Characteristics of a Great White Shark by Tommy Merriam.
In the first box right here, it's showing the shark cells. In the second box, it's showing a newborn shark. In the third box, there's DNA cells for a great white shark. Now in the fourth box, it's showing how a great white shark grew into its size and shape it is now. In the fifth box, shows the shark obtaining smaller fish to gain energy. In the sixth box, it shows how the shark adapted into its environment by getting fins to help it swim and gills to help it breathe underwater. Uh, in the second to last box, it's showing how the shark maintains stable internal conditions because it's cold-blooded. And finally, in the last box, it's showing how the shark evolved from a small fish into a huge shark.
I'm Lily Moore, and this is the 8 Characteristics of Life on the Great Blue Heron. Over time, the Great Blue Heron has evolved to develop special bones in its neck that allow it to curve into an S shape and quickly lash out at its prey. And it has also developed long legs that help it stalk through the water to sneak upon prey. Like all living creatures, the Great Blue Heron is based on genetic code and is made up of cells. Over time, the Great Blue Heron grows from a baby to a juvenile to an adult, and they reach adulthood when they reach about 2 years of age. Like every living creature, they have to adapt to their environment. And to do this, for one of the examples is that they learn how to fly. By learning how to fly, this allows them to quickly get away from predators if needed to. To maintain stable internal conditions, all living creatures have to eat. So the great blue heron's diet consists of fish, amphibians, small aquatic insects, small birds, rodents, and more. The great blue heron reproduces, so when they reach about 2 years of age, they find a mate. Every year, they find a new mate. They obtain materials for energy by using their long, sharp beak to quickly pluck prey from the water in order for them to subsist. This was the great blue heron and the 8 characteristics of life.